What is going on, everybody? Your favorite tall man here. And today, we're going to cover a story written by the one and only Jason Schreier, the prolific author, expert games journalist, and writer for Bloomberg. Now, I stumbled upon this article scrolling through the cesspool that is Twitter, X, whichever you'd like to call it, and this covers Dragon Age the Veilguard. Now, that's not a game I personally played. It didn't look very interesting to me. Critically, it was received decent. Then it just kind of fell off. So this article goes into what happened, why did it mess up so bad, and kind of the turbulence that they experienced during development. And that's what we're going to cover today. So let's get into it. All right, here's the article on Bloomberg. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I just want to cover a couple key points. I will link it though in the description down below if you want to click it and read the full article for yourself. Inside the Dragon Age debacle that gutted EA's BioWare studio. Now, there's a section here I wanted to cover, which is like the key factor on its failure. All right, this is one section I wanted to cover, the 10-year gap since the previous title. I don't think people realize how much this in itself can destroy a game. Having to wait 10 plus years. Now, I'm not going to say that's the case for all developers, because if you're Rockstar, GTA 3 or GTA 5 came out in what, 2013? We're going to be waiting by the time it comes out. What is that? 13 years? But it's going to blow the sales records out of the water for, I think, just video games in general, and I would almost say entertainment. Like, it's that huge of a game. But that's because Rockstar rarely misses, whether it be the Grand Theft Autos, the Red Deads. When they release a game, they hit because people already kind of know that this studio is capable of this quality. Whereas BioWare, this is coming off of the failure that was Anthem, the failure that was Mass Effect Andromeda. So the general perception of BioWare wasn't very good. And you have these Dragon Age fans waiting 10 years since, what was the name of it? Inquisition. It's like, are you gonna, there's kind of no hope, or there's very little faith in BioWare delivering a good product. And I think maybe if they would have, I know Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem was in there in between, but I don't know, maybe if you would have readjusted your pipeline and got us Dragon Age a little earlier, maybe it could have hit better. But that's just a small part of it. Right here, as we continue. Above all, sources point to the rebooting of the product from a single-player game to a multiplayer one, and then back again. A switcheroo that muddled development and inflated the title's budget. They say ultimately setting the stage for EA's potentially unrealistic sales expectations. The spokesperson for EA declined to comment. This right here, the switching, I think was the kill switch for the game. Not only did you put development time, who knows how long, before the switch to multiplayer. So not only did you just have to scrap everything you just had for single player, to now try to make a multiplayer game, for that not to work, and then go back to single player. At no point was that going to end well. After the switches like that, it just doesn't work like that. And yeah, so if you're watching corporate overlords, fuck off and let the game devs make the games they want to make. Because I can tell you, nobody would have wanted a full multiplayer Dragon Age game. That's not what people play those games for. Just like fucking Skyrim and Oblivion. Those stay single player, and Oblivion the remake did so well and is doing so good. And guess what? It's a single player RPG made in like 2008. Okay. I know you think about money all the time. Like, what can we get? What can we shove loot boxes in? What can we charge and rip players off and give us the money? No. You want money, let the devs make the single player game they want to make and give them the time to do it. And guess what? You'll see with Rockstar and GTA 6 why that works. And let alone some other developers that are really good as well. aka Expedition 33. That's single player. A bunch of single player games are killing it. And I knew once I heard this that was the killing blow to the game. Now, like I said earlier, though, I'm still surprised that it did as well despite all these switches during development. Yeah, as we scroll down farther, okay, look, they bring up Dragon Age Inquisition right here. Initially, it looked like a smart move thanks to a string of big hits in 2014. BioWare released Dragon Age Inquisition, the third installment in a popular action series, dropping players in a semi-open world full of magic elves and fire-spewing dragons. The fantasy title went on to win the much-coveted Game of the Year award and sell 12 million copies. It was a major validation of EA's diversification strategy. Now, up here, I think I saw it was only... Yeah, the new Dragon Age had only reached 1.5 million players. So you would assume that they probably sold 1.5 million copies. Now compare that to the 12 million that was Dragon Age Inquisition. Now I don't know the time frame of which they calculated the 12 million in comparison to the 1.5 million of Dragon Age the Veilguard. But either way, it clearly didn't meet their expectations. So it did nowhere as good as Inquisition. And then this one right here. Like much of the industry, EA executives were growing increasingly enamored of so-called live service games, such as Destiny and Overwatch, in which players continue to engage with and spend money on a title for months or even years after its initial release. While EA aiming to make a splash in the fast-growing category, BioWare poured resources into Anthem, a live service shooter game that checked all the right boxes. But guess what? That didn't work out, now did it? Games as a service and live service games, there's only room for so many, and most of the ones that come out aren't very good. You had Destiny, because at the time was kind of the only one that was doing it, and it struck an audience that stuck with it, gave it a sequel, and it's still being catered to today. Now, whether or not it's still in the best place, or if it's falling off, that can be debated. I'm not an avid Destiny player, so I wouldn't really know. But it is still live and being supported, and clearly you would think making Bungie and Sony money. So I would highly suggest reading this entire article. It just gives good insight to what can happen during game development and kind of the thought process of higher up executives and game developers. And it's just sad to see, to be honest, because BioWare was a GOAT developer. I mean, have you played the Mass Effect games, the older Dragon Age games? They were all so good. They have characters that stuck with people and storylines that have stuck with people for their entire life. So to see this happening is, it's sad. It is. Now, is the new Mass Effect going to be good? We can hope. But based off of their past titles and Veilguard and the layoffs and all the other drama, it'd be hard to say if it'll be good or not. But it's one of those we got to wait and see. I'm sure we'll probably see it sometime next year or the year after. They're probably going to take their time with it for sure, though, and make sure they don't repeat the same mistakes they made with Dragon Age the Veilguard. So that'll be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you liked, please leave a like, subscribe. It helps me out, knows that I did a good job on the video. Don't forget, if you wanted to read this full article, I will link it down in the description box down below. And with that, I'll see you guys later. Tall man out.